Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for the opportunity to address today as a Vice President of ANCOM. And it's an honor to be in this building. Every time when I'm stepping in this building, especially at the event organized by Congressman Pittinger, it's an honor to stay at this stage and on this stage and discuss these critical topics for the future of our humanity. It's a double honor to sit in this panel because I'm having at my right side and left side two of the most brilliant people I know in this ecosystem across the globe. My good friends John and Nathan, and I thank you for your remarks. And it's the third honor for me to be together with you, with so many faces I know, with people across the globe. Last night I saw my friend Yara from Cambodia, and sometimes you don't speak for 1 year with somebody, but you know that there's always a connection there. And that's some beautiful thing about PISF, that even if we don't see each other for a year, or for months, or for 2 years, we know that we feel the same. Our hearts are beating in the same democratic direction. And that's a very good thing for all of us. That's why it's very important to meet more and more often and set up the lines for the new world that is coming. The new world that is coming, it's in a change at a speed that some of us cannot comprehend. In 3 years from now, we will stand in front of the world changed by AI again in ways that we cannot understand and perceive today. Every evening, when I'm seeing my daughter back from work, I'm thinking about the world she's going to step in the next years to come, and I'm thinking how different that world is from the world I lived in. In an era where telecommunications and infrastructure form the backbone of our national security, economic prosperity, and global connectivity, I think it is imperative that we confront the challenges ahead with unity and resolve. Today I would like to speak about the way that telecom industry and the telecom sector evaluates and the evolution of it in the next years. The transformative potential and the emerging technologies, and the urgent need for the transatlantic collaboration and the US-Europe reset of our relationships. You know, from the early days of switchboard operators and landline monopolies in the 19th and the 20th century, the industry had transitioned through analog to digital networks, embracing mobile technology, broadband, and now 5G. This shift has democratized communication, and it moved from restrictive, expensive services to IP-based systems that integrate voice, data, and video. Looking ahead, telecom operators must continue adapting to future trends like IoT integration, cloud-native architecture, and the layered business models to remain competitive in a hyper-connected world. Here, I would like to stop and tell you something from what we do at ANCOM, which is the Romanian regulator on telecommunication. So, a few years ago, while I was in the Romanian parliament for almost 7 years, almost 8 years, I used to oversee ANCOM under our committee, the IT&C committee. And I had the chance to see through these years the amazing changes for this sector and the amazing change that, and the challenges that our institution, the institution I'm in the leadership today, has had. So if a few years ago ANCOM was responsible basically by the telecom industry and telecom infrastructure and postal services, today the challenges for us are very, very complicated, I would say, because we are in charge of regulation on social media platforms, Digital Services Act. I'm pretty sure you heard about the current debate, heated debate between US and Europe. We are in charge of regulating AI starting from next year. We are in charge of securing our infrastructure and all the telco networks on cybersecurity on NIS2 directive. We will be in charge of Digital Networks Act, which is a very important piece of legislation for both US and Europe. And we are also in charge of Gigabit Infrastructure Act and many more to come. Of course, here in US, you are not, I would say you are not so used with too much regulation. And listening to John, I realized that actually we studied the same document in the last days, the National Security Strategy of the United States of America. And sometimes when I read it already 3-4 times, and I tried to find the elements of why in this heated debate between the best friends in the world, I would say, Europe and United States, we cannot see the good things. Most of it, it's a very good document about our relationship, and we are pointing out in a political debate, of course, the so-called bad things about this strategy. I see only good things, and I see opportunities in it. As a European, and as a very strong pro-European and Romanian, and I will give you some examples. So if we are discussing about the telco infrastructure today, showing you what we do today at ANCOM, we realize that the telco operators, they have a problem with accepting the fact that they have to evaluate. And I'm saying this straightforward. Today, a telco operator should take very seriously in consideration that if they want to cover wide areas, I mean, those areas where you go with your cell phone and you do not have signal, definitely you have to work with space companies, with low orbit satellites in order to provide those kind of systems. And if you look across the world, you will see that there are very few companies who can do that, or at least I know across the world, 2 powerful companies or 2 powerful governments who are using 2 powerful companies from 2 different parts of the world, US and China. It's as simple as that. We are many times, stuck in conversations about, the continental Europe. And, to quote the phrase from the National Security Strategy of US, continental Europe has been losing share of global GDP down from 25% in 1990s to 14% today, partly owing to national and transnational regulations that undermine creativity and industriousness. So this is a fact. I mean, I'm a proud European, I'm underlining this again, and a proud Romanian, but I cannot say that this is a very clear phrase, and when I look in the mirror as a European, and when we should look in the mirror as Europeans, we should take this phrase very seriously, because this is a fact. And today I'm here to militate for resetting, to take down this heat from this debate between the transatlantic partners, US and Europe, and take these phrases in the National Security Strategy of the United States as a potential opportunity to reset this relationship. This future evolution of the telecom sector and the strategic partnership that we should have, particularly between telecom operators, classic telecom operators in Europe and US space companies. By collaborating innovators like those advancing low orbit satellites, we can accelerate deployment, enhance resilience, and counter adversarial influences. And I would say that this is especially critical in the face of China's growing dominance in the telecom and space ecosystem. Of course, you know me, I've spoke so many times, like John and other friends here, about China, and I never get bored in speaking about that, because sometimes I feel that we need to hear more and more often, daily, with very clear examples, how dangerous it is to have in our critical infrastructure Chinese equipments. We speak about that, but it seems that sometimes we do not act on that. China, through entities like Huawei and ZTE, has captured significant market share in 5G equipment, and it's aggressively expanding in space with initiatives like Baidu, navigation, and satellite constellations. Their state-backed strategies pose profound risks. Espionage through backdoors in infrastructure, data theft, control over critical software, and economic coercion that could undermine US and European independence. They already did that. John was giving you some numbers here and a list of probably 100 softwares that we do not know about that are in our critical infrastructures. And even with this, many times we fail to act. So if we fail to act, China could dominate the entire world, the entire value chain from hardware to orbital assets, effectively taking everything and leaving the West vulnerable to manipulation, supply chain disruptions, and strategic exclusion. I'm sorry to say it. I'm going to say it here straightforward in the US Congress. We are very near to that point. In my conversations with the American friends, I'm underlining the fact that US is losing its hegemonic power across the world in all the important committees and organisms which are setting up the standards for our telecommunication. And I'm here to raise my voice and to raise the awareness on this and underline the importance of resetting our transatlantic relationship together with Europe and US and start fighting against this influence which will undermine all our democracies. In this context, I would like to highlight, of course, because I'm Romanian, Romania's exceptional tracking record in aligning with the United States on legislation to mitigate these threats. For example, in 2019, as you all know, we signed a joint memorandum with US emphasizing secure 5G networks, free from Chinese investments risk. This paved the way for our 2021 legislation, which is practically barring Huawei and other Chinese vendors from our 5G infrastructure, prioritizing national security over short-term gains. A new thing about our legislation is that we have another piece of legislation which is updating the 2021 original bill to 5G, to 6G, sorry. This is critical for us. This shows the commitment that we have when we signed the MOU with US. And I'm proud to say that Romania stands today as a model for Europe, demonstrating that decisive action can protect our digital sovereignty while fostering innovation. So by June 2026, next year, Romania will be Chinese-free, Chinese equipment-free in all our core infrastructure, the telecom infrastructure. This is an amazing thing. It's a dream that I could see coming true, and the work, Romania's work and effort for achieving this objective was exceptional. We want to do this on 6G. We want to be the leading voice in Europe in clean networks for our democracies. And we are happy to speak more with our partners and like-minded countries across the world to look at our model and extend and expand our model across the world. We did this also on foreign direct investment, which is directly connected to investments in the telecom infrastructure. And we are the only country in the world which set up CFIUS model, the same that US has. And in this moment, while we're speaking, our country is acting as a trainer in the region for different other countries, our neighbors, in order to deploy this successful model. Going back to the US national security strategy, I want to quote something else from it. We want to remain the world's most scientifically and technologically advanced and innovative country, and to build on these strengths. And we want to protect our intellectual property from foreign theft. America's pioneering spirit is a key pillar of our continued economic dominance and military superiority. It must be preserved. I like this phrase from the National Security Strategy, and I liked it, but I have to tell you something. This vision cannot be realized in isolation. And in this heated debate, political debate between US and Europe, these days I would say that it is absolutely mandatory for the United States and Europe to reset their relationship, to strengthening alliances, harmonizing regulations, maybe give up to regulations in Europe, because yeah, we have to be fair. Too much regulation took us to the point where our GDP fell down from 25% to 14%, according to the first phrase that I quoted from your national security strategy. A fragmented approach would only empower our adversaries. Indeed, I would say that we have to reset this relationship. Another quote, important quote about Europe, which unfortunately in this political debate these days, I didn't see it emphasized and underlined, it's the one I'm going to read now. Yet Europe remains strategically and culturally vital to the United States. Transatlantic trade remains one of the pillars of the global economy and of American prosperity. European sectors from manufacturing to technology to energy remain among the world's most robust. Yeah. I can agree or disagree with specifically this thing, but I think we have to work out more on this. But the last quote says like this: not only can we not afford to write Europe off, doing so would be self-defeating for what this strategy aims to achieve. So I have to tell you, I am pissed off. Because today in our conversation regarding our transatlantic relationship, we don't want to acknowledge that actually the United States of America, in their own national security strategy, says black on white, not only can we not afford to write Europe off, doing so would be self-defeating for what this strategy aims to achieve. So America is recognizing today, as still as hegemonic power, that it cannot fulfill its national security objectives without the best friend and ally, Europe. So I don't see any reason today in having such a heated political debate. And this week in Washington with my American counterparts and friends, I try to emphasize this and underline this idea. This applies to our area of expertise. This applies in telecom and infrastructure. So I came here today to show you that a small country in Europe, in a very, to quote my friend, bad and weird neighborhood, made it on a position of leadership and showed that and proved that can be Chinese-free equipment in their critical infrastructure. Of course, we can speak hours from here about what's coming. Definitely, everybody knows that the AI, as I said, will change the world in a dramatic way. It's a personal opinion, but I think it will be happening faster than we think. So the way we said no to Chinese equipment in our telco networks, in the most simple way and fast way, we should act and say no to any AI Chinese technology in our critical networks. I think we should do this as soon as possible, I think, through our reset relationship in our Atlantic partnership. We should start working at regulation and legislation which actually empowers and promotes American companies coming to Europe and European companies coming to America and work together with less regulation, with much more less regulation, while being very careful regarding the Chinese vendors and the Chinese technology taking over our democracies. I will never hesitate and I will never become tired of repeating these things here together with my friends until the day we will realize that this red line should never be crossed. We should never allow Chinese equipment in our critical infrastructures, and that's because Europe and US are created under the same values that God gave us. And democracy, it's still the best thing that can happen to a nation across the world. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speaking to you today. And I'm encouraging you to look, because I know I spoke a lot about Europe and US these days, because that's where my heart is. But I'm encouraging you, all of my friends, to look in the same way at regions across the world like Africa, Asia, thinking about my friends here. You should just go in those countries and see the potential you have. You should just go in Cambodia and see that 75% of their people are under 35 years old. It's a nation mirroring the same population that Romania has. And you should see the spirit and you should feel the spirit of those young people. You know, Cambodia doesn't have to pay pension for the next probably 40 years to 75% of their population, which is amazing. Just imagine what a great potential is there. US should focus in those regions together with Europe. And I think we neglected these things. And I think that's why we have critical infrastructure all across these nations owned by China. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you all a nice stay in Washington, D.C. Congressman Pittinger, congratulations for your forum.